Let's turn our minds back a year now. A year ago yesterday, it was a night of triumph for Anthony Albanese.
I want to bring Australians together. I want to seek our common purpose and promote unity and optimism, not fear and division.
Well, that was the aim, Katie. Has he succeeded?
Look, I think he's been fairly steady in the way that he's done things. So I was a bit concerned, when he was first elected, that he might come in sort of all guns blazing and make these massive changes that would concern Australians and, that we might feel like things were going a little bit too far one way. So I do think that he's been more steady and a little bit slower moving than, than maybe what I'd thought that he might be initially. But I think that the real issues that he needs to get to the bottom of are things like cost of living. That is a massive, massive concern. Not just for lower income Aussies, but also for middle Australia. We're in a situation where there's a lot of people that are part of middle Australia at the moment that are looking down the barrel of further interest rate rises, and the cost of living just continues to go up. So that is a massive concern, but also the situation with The Voice. Now, I've said it on the show before, I'm supportive of The Voice, but I do think that this is going to be a real test of Anthony Albanese's leadership, particularly in a place like Northern Australia and particularly for the Northern Territory, where we have massive, massive issues when it comes to Indigenous Australians and some real concerns with, with obviously big issues that we've spoken about on the show before, things like crime.
Yep.
They are hugely concerning, and we're all wondering what difference The Voice is going to make and how he's going to bring Australia together.
Yeah, look, Gemma, I think cost of living's massive for all Australians. People are just talking about it all the time. But the other thing, it is fascinating to hear Anthony Albanese back on that night talking about unity, because this Voice debate, believe me, it's tough. It's divisive. You only have to watch the past couple of hours on this station to see some people see it as a real threat. Some people see it as really splitting the nation. So it's going to be very hard for Anthony Albanese, not to mention everybody else, to try and make sure that everything is kept civil and, in his word, united throughout this process.
I think there's a couple of things at play here, Chris, and The Voice is certainly, chief among them, and not so much the concept itself. As Katie said, most fair-minded and reasonable Australians believe in recognition. I think that's my experience, certainly my view. It's the way that they have handled it. It is the moralising, it's the bullying, it is the shaming. You must be on the right side of history. If you want detail, you're a racist. All of this kind of rhetoric and underpinning sort of theme to the Yes campaign from the government's side, I think that has been hugely disappointing. It's the mark of a leader to be able to navigate the electorate through complex matters from a place of unity, not from a place of guilt, not to be, the parental figures with a massive stick saying you're the bad kid if you ask me questions, that kind of thing. That's the first thing my observation over this past 12 months would be. The second thing would be, as Katie said and as everybody's saying, cost of living. This government is acting like it doesn't ever see a day where it will be, where it will be thrown out of office. And look, you could make as many jokes about the Liberal Party and their current state of affairs as you like, but the bottom line is, it always has been about the economy, stupid, and it will always be about the economy, stupid. People are hurting in practical ways, day to day, cost of living. This government's comments on inflation, frankly, are ignorant. And they are dismissive of the pain of Middle Australia, the same Middle Australia that at the last election said, no thanks, coalition, we're going to give this mob a go. I wouldn't take them for the fool that this government is currently taking them from an economic perspective.
I wouldn't be talking about 10 years yet if I was Albo. I'll talk to a Labor figure later in the program, and my point of view that energy alone is going to create enormous trouble for Labor in the next couple of years.
Absolutely.
Before we go, I want to at least get your thoughts on this, Gemma, because I know it's something very close to your heart, and that is the latest revelations about Brumbies being shot in the Snowy Mountains in the Kosciuszko National Park. Now, these are a feral animal, and there are thousands of them in the park. It's very difficult. As an old park ranger, I understand how difficult it is to manage, but when they go in and kill donkeys or goats or pigs in national parks, no one cares. But killing horses, wow, people really, really upset about this. Can it go on this way?
No, it can't. It can't go on this way. You've got snipers shooting pregnant mares and foals. You've got an absolutely indiscriminate behaviour on behalf of those doing this work. The thing that gets me the most, Chris, and you know me well, and I've been riding through this area many times since I moved to New South Wales. All of these overinflated numbers of thousands of 20,000 Brumbies in Kosciuszko. I mean, trust me, if there were 20,000 Brumbies up there, you'd be knee-deep in horse manure. It's the fact that there are groups and organisations who are able, willing and keen to rehome these animals, use them for domestic purposes. They make brilliant riding horses. It is not always possible, but in most cases it is. But the preference is to slaughter them. The preference is to send in gunmen, shoot them from helicopters, leave them to die if they don't kill them. And yeah, that includes mares and foals. So well done, well done.
We're going to hear more about this, no doubt. We'll come back to it. We're all out of time now. Thanks so much for joining us, Gemma Tonyini and Katie Woolf. We'll catch you next week.